Hello, fellow toolboxers. Welcome to episode 267. I'm talking with Helena Tetzeli, doing an interview partner at the Kurzban, Tetzeli, and Pratt law firm in Florida. Y'all heard about them, obviously. You heard about Kurzban, the book, and everything like that. It's a fun interview to get to know a person who's really established in the field. So I look forward to talking with her and you guys hearing about that conversation. It's a lot of fun. And in general, we kind of just get into the difficulties of practice and growing a practice. It's timing is kind of interesting because I'm growing my firm, and there's a long-term thing that has to start happening after you're just not a solo anymore and you're hiring people, especially when you're hiring associates. Not just assistants or roles like that. And it was helpful talking with Helena, but also their AILA is having a practice. They're having some conferences in Las Vegas in December 4th and 5th. They have a track or just a whole day, 2 days on like basics of immigration law for people who are interested in that. They're also having a business school format. They've announced it late, so it's like kind of hectic. But it's 4th and 5th, and I'm part of the business school planning community. And I'm going to be speaking on how to do like certain modern marketing mechanisms, all that kind of stuff. They also have a partnership track on the Tuesday. They have 2 sessions about developing partnerships and stuff like that, which I'm going to go to. So it's something that's interested me. But definitely come check it out. I'm going to be there in Vegas December 5th and 6th. It's a Monday and Tuesday. And I'm bringing my own team actually out there too. So it's going to be team building kind of stuff too. And our team's across the country, so it's good to meet up once a year. So it's going to be fun. Just want to let you know that's happening. And just kind of on your own, whether you're at a firm and this is how Helena's situation was, what are your long-term plans going to be? You got to think, down the line what your future is going to be. And if you have your own firm, kind of think about, well, how are we going to develop this, give it longevity, and think bigger in the ways that are necessary. So a really interesting thing to check out. Come to that conference. But also don't forget the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox Conference. We're having our postgraduate workshop. So you graduate from law school, now post-graduation, learn how to actually practice law. Focus on O1 visas. It's going to be a lot of fun, in-depth, small group. So it'll be really intense and you have one-on-one interactions with our instructors. I'm going to go have interviews with them and talk about who they are, the future issues and episodes. But also the networking aspect of just going out, having dinner together, and getting to know each other better. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's very important to do. Friday, February 24th in 2023. So get in right now as soon as possible to book it because we are only going to have a small number of seats available there. But it's going to be really good to expand your practice area, become bigger. If you don't do O1s, you get added on there. If you have associates who don't know how to do O1s, you don't have time to train them, just have them come here. We have some of the best immigration lawyers who do O1s in LA and practically the country are going to be teaching the course. So it's going to be a really special session, not just for you, but also associates who want to get involved in this. Check out the magazine. Then new issues coming out in probably a week or two. But the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine, go to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com/magazine, check it out. And thank you to our sponsors, particularly DocaWise. It's always been such a great sponsor for the magazine and the podcast. You can get additional 10% off their annual plan by go to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. Oh, that's my website. I always say that wrong. You go to DocaWise.com/immigration-lawyers-toolbox and use the code Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. There's 2 codes. There's the podcast code Toolbox. You use both of them, but definitely check it out and use the codes to get in and get extra money savings off this wonderful service that they have. Having said that, it's not legal advice. I don't think we would go into legal stuff here other than just practice management and just personal stuff. But check it out. It's a really fun interview. And if you want to learn about the course and stuff we have, the best thing to do is just email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. I'm going to shorten the email address to iltbox.com. I haven't got around to doing the technical stuff just to make it less of a mouthful. So everything's going to be iltbox.com. But for now, info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com until I get around to that. Thanks, everybody. Talk soon. So, hi, Helena. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm really excited to get to know more about your background and your practice of immigration law. Why do we just jump into it? Could you let us know about yourself, where you grew up, and how you found your way into practicing law and immigration law?
Okay, I'll try to summarize it because I have a very long, kind of complicated origin story, I guess. So I was born in Havana, Cuba.
Oh,
my parents are not Cuban by birth. My parents were refugees from Europe. My mom from Spain, my dad from the Czech Republic, or Czechoslovakia as it was known. His parents were not Jewish. They, however, were progressives and Czech nationalists, and did not welcome the Nazis. So they left as Europe was being overrun by the Nazis. My dad's family left Bohemia, the part of the Czech Republic where they were living at the time, to Belgium, then France. They then got an ocean liner to Cuba, leaving from Portugal, ended up in Havana, and my father was raised there.
What years were this?
World War II, late 30s, early 40s.
And when did they kick out Batista of Cuba? Was that before?
Oh, that was much later.
Later.
That was in 59.
Oh, so this is pre-communist Cuba.
This is pre-communist, yeah. It's weird how I ended up in Cuba because my parents were not Cuban. They became kind of honorary Cubans. They loved Cuba very much. Wouldn't have left except for, Castro. But they ended up in Cuba because of the World War in Europe. They both ended up.
Well, that's like a movie right there.
Yeah, I know. It's like a movie. And then, of course, they left Cuba due to Castro and, another totalitarian system. And we became refugees again. They became refugees again. I was a refugee with them. And we ended up in the U.S. Now, I'm in Miami now. I didn't end up in Miami like most Cuban Americans start out, but I am now in Miami. We were all over the country. So I was raised New York, Georgia, Virginia, Alabama, and finally Miami. And then I went to law school in California. I went to University of California, Hastings, which is the campus in San Francisco, and then came back to Miami after law school.
Very interesting. And when you're in law school, did you think you were going to practice immigration law, or?
I did. I took a course, a seminar, my third year, and I'd been reading about Ira's cases. Ira Kurzban, who's now my partner, his cases that he was almost taking at that time all the way to the Supreme Court, where he was representing Haitian refugees, so refugees who were fleeing the, at that time, very bloody regime in Haiti for political reasons, and coming here, being sent back, not being provided due process, not being given real asylum hearings. Yeah. He represented them pro bono, and these cases hosted them, went up to the Supreme Court on a variety of issues. So I've been reading about him. And, at the time, Miami was just kind of known as, for Miami Vice and, cocaine and drugs. And there's this immigration lawyer doing something incredibly wonderful. And I think it resonated with me since I was an immigrant and a refugee as well, and took an immigration class. And my professor, it was a very well-known immigration attorney and now runs a very well-known immigration firm headquartered out west. Barry Appleman and Leiden. David Barry was my professor. Wow. And I think he gave me a recommendation. And I applied for a position with Ira's firm in Miami when I was a second-year student. Most second-year law students want to do a clerkship or an internship and hopefully get picked up and get a permanent offer. Yeah. So I applied for a clerkship and I got dinged. I have a ding letter from Ira that is now on my wall. Right on top of the letter where, the announcement is made that I'm a partner. Yeah. So, and then I applied again after I had graduated, was in Miami to study for the bar, and applied for a clerkship with him, or with the firm, and was hired, and have basically stayed ever since.
And what kind of cases did you? Do you still do full service? Or are you mostly just business stuff, or?
The firm does full service. I'm happy to say, because we're one of the few firms that do full service immigration. Yeah. Nuts to bolts. Basic family petitions to federal litigation, Supreme Court litigation. I have been focusing the last, I would say, 15 years on business immigration and federal immigration litigation. I also do some commercial work. I do some labor law, contract law, so some civil litigation that's not immigration, but mainly immigration, and that's really my first love. But when I started, I did do everything. I did Iranian and asylum cases. I did family cases, naturalization, removal, crimmigration. My partner Kevin Gregg, that's what his niche is now. But I did do some of that, and then gradually decided I wanted to do business immigration, and been doing that ever since, focusing on that.
I want to talk about the business litigation in particular, but before that, doing commercial kind of stuff is not immigration. How difficult is that to do that? Like, because immigration is so all-consuming, and are these kind of immigration clients you have that also have to deal with this kind of issues? Is that what happened, or how do you?
Yeah, well, kind of both. When I first started working at the firm, well, actually, no, let's put it this way. Around the late 90s, you had a lot of anti-immigration legislation, ILA and all these laws that were eliminating forms of relief, at least for people in removal proceedings. I mean, I remember when you could get a judicial recommendation from a judge, a state court judge, against removal, and that would stop removal. It was a JRAD, a judicial recommendation against deportation. That ended. 212C relief was, ended, and unless you had St. Cyr cases, that was really no longer on the table. I enjoyed those kinds of equitable relief type of cases. I'm a believer in redemption, and there were a lot of clients that I thought deserved another chance. Cancellation, suspension was replaced by cancellation, a much higher standard. And I just felt like maybe immigration law was going to get, as I knew it, removal was going to get legislated out of existence. And so there was another partner at the firm at the time that did only commercial litigation, civil rights, and commercial litigation. And so I think I wanted to hedge my bets, and I started working with him as well and learning how to do litigation. Some of it, very business oriented, some of it more, I guess social justice, civil rights type litigation. And then as I started developing a business immigration practice, a lot of my clients would come to me after we'd gotten their EB-1s, green cards, and, I'm being sued by an employee, or I can't collect from a supplier, or I'm having a fight with my partner, and can you help? So since I already had civil litigation experience, then I would get involved and represent them on that side as well.
It seems that fear that they're going to stop immigration as a practitioner every 10 years or so, there's that run.
I know. I was young back then. I didn't know any better. Right.
But I mean, it does happen because of these ups and downs of it. You're like, wait, is it going to end? Or are they going to shut down these reliefs? And it does pop up a lot. Even during Trump's time, it created more work. But at first, what's going to happen here?
Absolutely. And it was very curtailed under Trump. I mean, it really, even business immigration, even legal, immigration, even investment was kind of discouraged, and, a lot of roadblocks were put in the way of that. And I'm sure it affected a lot of practitioners.
And it's yet to be seen what the next round of elections is going to happen. A new president, it could be a swing. I mean, you have your governor in Florida might throw his hat in the ring, and who knows what direction he'll take to all this. So it is a thing, because I get asked people from law students, so they're like, is there a future in immigration? And just from seeing the ups and downs, it sometimes seems like it's going to stop. Like, my dad is like, immigration is going to stop. Go do something else. Do civil litigation. He really wants me to do that, or transactional law. Like, immigration is too much fun. I can't stop doing this. I bet the farm on it. I'm going hardcore into it.
It's definitely my favorite. Part of my practice. Yeah.
So what are you seeing? I mean, your firm is heavy into litigation, some hardcore litigation. I said, Kurzban himself has been going to, IRA's been going to, Supreme Court and stuff. What are the type of litigation cases that you're putting forward right now that's, kind of in the news, or just worthy to talk about?
I guess really you can divide it into two types of cases. One, just kind of your cases we've been doing for years, where we feel we need to challenge a denial of a type of visa or status. And that's not so systemic. And then you have these systemic just delays in processing of any kind of immigration benefit, whether it's an advanced parole or a work permit, TPS status, that has gotten gradually worse, I'd say, during the previous administration, but it has not gotten better. It's gotten worse since the pandemic. And I think even the current administration, which is, I consider immigrant friendly, is struggling with how to cope with just the huge backlog of cases. But I think a lot of times some of these delays are just inexcusable. We are going to be mounting a lawsuit challenging delays in TPS status and TPS EADs. That's probably the next case we're going to be bringing in terms of, impact litigation, as opposed to a lawsuit just on behalf of a particular individual client. But I go ahead.
No. One of the lawsuits, we don't do litigation, and I really need to develop it because there's so much business, is the delays at the embassy for adjudications. Daily, you get asked, and it's hard to pile up a class action for these. So it's kind of like one-on-one hits on these lawsuits. And usually I see it works. I mean, all of a sudden the embassy just says, here's your appointment date. And like, okay, it's like a extra filing fee you have to do it. So it makes it where like the rich people could get better access because they could pay the filing fee, which is a lawyer in a lawsuit, just to get an embassy appointment. But it's just such a nasty thing. I'm sure you guys have to do a lot of those cases.
It is. And a lot of clients are, very wary of taking on the U.S. government. And some clients are concerned that there's going to be some sort of backlash. The government's going to vindictively deny the visa. And I don't think that would happen. But I do believe that in many cases they are fighting, at least USCIS is fighting some cases that maybe a few years ago they wouldn't have litigated. They're just trying to slow it down, fighting over venue, moving to dismiss instead of filing an answer. So you never know. But many times, yes, you do get, a positive effect as soon as you file a lawsuit, or shortly after. You do get a mysterious resolution of your case, whether it's an interview being scheduled, if you're suing a consular post, as you know, or USCIS reopening a denial. So it can be an effective tool, and sometimes it's the only tool we've got.
But you made an important point. There have been changes where they're kind of fighting it a little bit, and they're dragging their feet. Some of the judges aren't. I've heard judges in DC aren't playing ball. Like they're canceling these. So it's like which venue you choose. The USCIS is pushing back on this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's an exponential rise in the federal litigation that's happening. Instead of fixing the system, though, they're just fighting. It's like what?
Exactly. And then sometimes, it looks like maybe they're getting their hands around something. I remember maybe a month or two ago, they announced they were decoupling EADs and advanced paroles, and somehow that was going to fix the problem. And I know from speaking to colleagues that, maybe a couple of EADs were issued super quick. And then nothing, we're back to where we were.
Yeah, November, December, January, I was getting EADs done in like 6 weeks. I'm like, oh, they finally fixed it. And then everything is back to 8-9 months.
Right.
It had told clients we're getting this fast and they're not getting it. They're like, you lied to me. USCIS said by September, October, they didn't get cases done in 6 months. I-130s, that didn't happen. I've K1s going 13, 14 months. I-129Fs that are still pending.
No, I know. And I'm not sure why. I mean, I know there are multiple reasons, a pandemic, and there was a lot of attrition during the previous administration, and, obviously just a huge backlog in cases. But I just feel like somebody out there at the agency needs to try to be a little creative and come up with ways to resolve some of these issues. I'm sure there are ways that you don't have to spend, I don't know how many hours you spend on an I-765, but it's not the ultimate benefit. It's just a work permit.
Yeah.
I mean, why is it so hard to approve an I-485? I mean, excuse me, an I-765, but why is that? I don't get it. And, we all know clients who've lost jobs, like H-4 spouses. I don't know how many have spoken to lost jobs because they couldn't get the work permit before I mean, even now they can't really work incident status, unlike E2s and Ls.
And it took a litigation to get that, which there should have been all history that you should have had incident status. In H4, so it's like you got to fight them on every little piece for basic stuff. That shouldn't even be an issue.
No, I know. It's depressing sometimes, and to have to explain that to a client, it's frustrating because there aren't that many mechanisms. Again, not everyone, only the minority of people or of clients is going to be interested in litigating. Something. And I've tried congressional liaison, but I think most senators and congressmen's offices are overwhelmed with these requests too.
They've given up to an extent. Some of them are better than others, but I had one senator in Texas send me a letter saying, we're not doing agency work for clients who have lawyers. Go contact AILA. I'm like, what? What kind of response is that? And so they sent it by mail too. I think they intentionally just sent it by email, so I can't respond directly. Like, what are you talking about? But then we went to a local congressperson, and actually, that after like many expedite requests for an Iowa authority, we got it approved. I have to ask them 3 or 4 times, and then finally for it to happen.
Right.
So I want to take a quick break to talk about one of our new sponsors, immigrationevaluationdirectory.com, a great resource for immigration attorneys who do those kind of cases that require immigration evaluations or just psychological evaluations. Did you know research reports psychological evaluations can increase an asylum applicant's chance of parole by 78%? Psychological evaluations are hugely beneficial in hardship, cancellation, asylum, and other types of cases. Connecting with qualified clinicians has never been easier thanks to the Immigration Evaluation Directory. Feel free to use and filter the directory by location, language, case type, and more, and then read the reviews and profiles of those practitioners and reach out to them to really help your clients work with somebody who knows what they're doing in this field. The Immigration Evaluation Directory is your one-stop resource to find the best therapist to help. Explore more today at immigrationevaluationdirectory.com. Again, that's immigrationevaluationdirectory.com. Kind of take it on a different track. So your partner at a very famous law firm. What was the path to get there? There's a lot of people who are working at firms. They have this what did you do that's different, or what to be able to rise it?
Wow. A very long, torturous path because the firm, it's a family firm. It was started by Ira and his brother. They then brought in another partner. There was really no partner track. There is now, but there wasn't when I was coming up and when John Pratt, my other immigration law partner, was coming up. Essentially, I asked to become first a named non-equity partner.
Well, one thing you asked, one of the first steps is not being shy about it and say, hey, this is,
just ask. And I did and got what I asked for. And now we do have a partner track, and it's a good feeling because we want the firm to continue and to continue to grow and continue to be a very respected immigration firm. And you need a path for that. You need a succession plan. So we now have that in place. But again, when John started, it was again very ad hoc. We basically just asked for it.
I don't want you to go into the details of partner track because it's private, but sitting there to think it seems like a lot of work to even plan out how it is. Did you get a consultant, or how did you even figure out how a partnership path? Is there a formalized way to do it, or that people could expect with measures or KPIs or anything?
We did consult with basically a consultant, an accountant, and at the same time moved offices and again restructured the partnership.
But that was must have been in addition to a regular day work, that must have been a full-time job trying to figure out the move and restructuring. I mean, it's a complex kind of thing.
Well, we have a very good managing partner, Jed Kurzban, Ira's nephew, who does med-mal, not immigration. And it was his dad with Ira who founded the firm. Mm-hmm. So we all work together. But I think Jed found the building that we're in now.
Yeah.
that we purchased together. And we were all, became very tight knit as a result of, I guess, the struggles that we had to go through to kind of reset.
Yeah.
My word for it right now.
No, I've been a full solo, like police solo for 10 years. And then a year or two ago, I started hiring. I'm an associate, I'm a part-time associate. And now I'm like thinking about, how money goes and tracks and bonuses and all of a sudden it's just like, well, so much to think about.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of work. And labor is expensive right now, as you know. Yeah.
So this is just like, how did you deal with it? Yeah, getting consultants, and then I got to plan on a partnership track because it creates incentive to stay with the firm. But it's planning that far down the line in my head. Is like once I go past a year or two, the numbers start making sense because it's like
I'm happy to talk to you offline about it.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Well, we're getting to near the end of it. I do want to ask, like, if people want to contact you. Before that, I just wanted kind of a fun question, just kind of serious. Like, what's your plan for like 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Where do you see yourself? What do you want going on? Kind of personal life and business life.
Still practicing, and hopefully another new partner or two. Honestly, just it's. I don't know if you probably know what it's like, but it's so hard to plan strategically and think that far ahead because there's so much in front of us. And I think I get caught up in that.
Yeah.
So I've never had a professional life coach. I should probably get one. But right now I'm happy, just enjoying the fact that I'm happy where I am right now in this space. And we're all happy. The law firm is in a good place. So I'm kind of savoring that still.
Yeah.
And I think still enjoying that. So in terms of, where I see myself in the next 3 to 5 years, hopefully still here, doing this, maybe chatting with you again about whatever latest outrage we're experiencing from USCIS and how we're dealing with it. Because I don't think immigration is ever going to go away, knock on wood.
Yeah. It's just got to always evolve or something. There's
it's very dynamic. I mean, I do immigration, I do civil litigation, and it's just so dynamic compared to civil litigation. I mean, obviously there's common law and there's changes in the law, but not on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like immigration law. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I guess with the litigation, you have like the other party who's fighting you. So there's that dynamism there where it's like you're actively fighting someone or like money essentially. But immigration, the rules just change, and sometimes rules change without them telling you what it is. There's one case, but it's the EB2, EB3 case where USCIS is like adjudicating cases like all over the place to try to get these out and making what seem maybe errors or maybe just discretionary policy stuff. But it's like there's nothing written down. So 5 years from now, Nats, what are we going to do? Like, say USCIS.
You mean the transfer of underlying eligibility cases?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's going on? So you see all the two? It's popped up last week. And like the client who found a YouTube for some other firm, they're saying this because I'm like, we should contact the ombudsman's office. This doesn't make any sense. But this one law firm is saying, no, it's an internal policy USCIS is doing. I'm like, well, put something out there. We can't rely on an internal policy 5 years from now. That you change on an online basis without telling us on your own. Like, this is crazy.
Now, I have a lot of Indian clients and some clients from China, and obviously they're all affected by these backlogs. And so they watch, they're on top of the visa bulletin. I think I've had clients who've transferred their underlying basis of eligibility 2 or 3 times now since October 2020. And I think that has probably created some backlogs at the agency.
Yeah.
All these I-485Js and, inner filings, I think probably contributed to the backlogs, but you can't blame somebody who's from India or China who's in that backlog, who's been waiting like a decade to be able to file an adjustment application, who's got an aging out kid, to not want to move every lever they can move. And I mean, there we are. But that's just another microcosm of a cluster in the overall cluster that is USCIS right now.
Well, it keeps it fresh. It's always different. That's a positive.
And never boring. Never ever boring. No, I know.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. If people wanted to reach out, do you have to use social media, or is there a best way to contact you that's they put out there?
Email or text. I mean, I'm on Twitter, but not like Ira. No, or Kevin even. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You can email me or text me, John. It was great to meet you.
That was a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.